Relax, the keyboard is off, the press box is closed, and the mic is just getting warmed up as the Guardian of the Blue Paint turned writer is about to enlighten us. The show where the writer is fresh off the presses and the ink is not dry. For this week's show, overlooked draft picks and a goalie that should not be. Welcome to the Hockey Writers Inc. Join Lance and Steel as we bring you all the latest on the Flyers.
Hi guys, welcome back to another edition of the Hockey Writers Inc. As always, I'm your host, Lance Green.
And as always, I'm your co-host, SteelFlyers, and welcome back, buddy.
I appreciate it. You
look a little darker.
I went away on vacation.
Yeah, you look a little darker.
Yeah. Had a good time.
Good. Had some vacation time. Yeah.
Definitely
Out
did.
With the fam, doing
yeah.
Good.
Yeah, the wife said I couldn't bring my laptop or write anything either. So,
okay.
Yeah. So the boss
the editor-in-chief
ruled
said,
that one. Yeah.
No laptop this weekend, huh?
Nope.
Okay, good deal. Awesome sauce. Well, how about that, folks? We had thank you to the great Pearl of Wisdom for stepping in, filling the shoes, as it were, last week as Lance was on vacation. So thank you, Perlo. Hockey Writers Inc. Salute for that. It was a great show, too. We talked about the some stuff that we're going to probably cover in this show a little bit, too. But, you went on vacation, right? And so you come out swinging this week with 2 articles.
I did. I had a lot of time to process some thoughts. And then when I was allowed to jump
when
back on my laptop,
yeah. All right, let's go.
Yeah. So I was able to get some thoughts out of my head for sure. So
awesome sauce. Well, hey, folks, how about this? This is episode number 82. We have done a full hockey season of shows.
All right.
I mean, I don't know about you. That's kind of a milestone. I mean, 82 shows, I guess. All right, cool. And on this 82nd edition of the Hockey Writers Inc., overlooked draft picks and a goalie that should not be. And just as you said, Lance, this week you were quite busy. Even though you took a little bit of time off, you came out swinging this week, for sure. So here we go with article number 1, released on the first day of summer of all days. Lance's first great article posted to the FlyersNittyGritty.com website with what the Flyers should do with their former first-round pick, Jay O'Brien. And honestly, I'm just as shocked as everyone as to why he does not even have a contract.
I don't get it.
Okay, right. All right. So, Lance, perhaps in this article, you clear that up some?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. Explain it to me, man. Break it down for me.
All right. So I've written about Jay a couple of times now, and it's still intriguing to me why, this 2018 first round pick is not yet drafted. And in the article. Signed, yeah. That means signed.
Yeah.
So why on earth is this guy not signed yet? I don't get it. In the article, I broke it down and, gave some reasons why he might not be. He had some early struggles after being drafted out of the high school preparatory leagues where he had some phenomenal numbers. And, his time at Thayer Academy wasn't great. So he moved on. But, it's intriguing to me why he's been on the right path the past 2 seasons, playing at BU, and he's been at or over a point per game in the past 2 seasons.
2 seasons, yeah.
I really don't know why this guy hasn't been afforded the opportunity to prove himself at the professional level yet.
Yeah.
I really don't know if it's he just doesn't want to sign with the Flyers at this point. I don't know if, he isn't a Hextall pick. I get Chuck Fletcher, wants to bring in his guys and all that stuff. But, just the questionable signings that Chuck Fletcher has done recently, or lack thereof in some instances, with Connor McLennan not being signed, which was his own pick, blows my mind. Very, he scored 51 goals this year, McLennan did, between the regular season and the playoffs. And to not sign O'Brien after he had yet another great season in the collegiate leagues, to go out and sign Sampson, a defenseman who scored a lot of points, but let's face it, he was a minus 23 for a defenseman. I don't care how many, you've heard me say this many times.
Yeah. We don't care how many points you score.
I don't care how many points you score as a defenseman. If you let in more goals than you put, or points than you put up, you're not doing the team any favors. So, he also went out and signed Swedish defenseman Adam Ginning, who he had like 5 points this season.
Yeah, it's like you're scratching your head on the ones that they did sign, and the ones that they didn't sign. You're like, well, wait a minute.
So you had O'Brien, who's having a big offensive campaign the past 2 seasons. You had McLennan, who had a great season this year, but then you don't sign either one of them, and you re-sign Linus Sandin, who was propagated to us of being some great potential offensive talent coming over from the SHL a couple of seasons ago, but yet I think he had like 7 or 8 goals this year at the Phantoms.
8.
Yeah, so I'm not too impressed with some of the moves that Chuck has been making so far. And and in the same token, O'Brien is now 22 years old. He's a leftover Hextall prospect, like we talked about. And Forrester, Tumala, Dejournay, Wisdom, McGlotton, all have been signed now as Chuck Fletcher forward picks, and none of those guys have been able to make it to the NHL quite yet. Maybe one of them will be this year, but why not sign O'Brien? Why not take a chance on him at least the Phantoms level? And if right, for cheap, you need centers. You need centers. So this season alone, the past couple seasons, Sean Couturier has been injured the past 2 seasons, so we don't really know if he's going to be able to stay healthy. Kevin Hayes has been injured the past 2 seasons. Morgan Frost has been okay. He's 23. He's played in 3 or 4 seasons in the NHL and has scored 7 goals. Like, that's not overly impressive
for a
first round pick.
First round.
Right. We've had to go out this past season and lay claim to Patrick Brown from the Las Vegas Golden Knights because Nate Thompson, who's 37 years old, center, was injured this season. So we had to go out and claim people off of the waiver wire to just fill the roster. But yet you have a center who's scoring a point per game pace in the NCAA.
In my mind, BU is no joke.
Right. They don't have any off nights where they're playing some scrub teams.
Right.
They're playing a tough schedule. And, you have a guy down there that's doing what he's supposed to be doing at the collegiate level, and you're not giving him a shot when you have all these question marks at the center position. I don't get it. But here's the catch. In my mind, if you're clearly don't favor him and don't wish to sign him again and again and again, every season passes by, you don't sign him, then why don't you try to get something for him?
Yeah.
Before you can't get anything. He still holds some value. And in my mind, somebody would be willing to take him on, even if he was a throw-in, part of a bigger deal. And I've explained some different options like that.
Yeah, I want to get into that, for sure, because I really like the short-term idea of Mark Scheifele.
Okay.
But Explain that to me a little bit, because
Sure.
I got to tell you though, like I like it, but
It's not my favorite, right? It's not my favorite either.
and whether or not it's going to happen.
Right. Well,
so
here's why it could happen. So the Jets finished 6th in the Central, this past season. They have a powerhouse of a team in their own division, being the Colorado Avalanche. They fired their coach. We know that they, going out and doing all that. Well, I think he stepped down. Let me rephrase that. He stepped down.
Palmer stepped down from the Jets.
But, I think he just got a new job. But anyway, we're talking about the Jets. Yeah. And there's some big question marks. They're going to have to do some player personnel moves as well to try to get back to being relevant out in the Western Conference. And one way to do that is to trade their 6'3", 207-pound center, who's 29 years old, and Mark Scheifele. Now, if you're not so familiar with this player because he's on the Western, side of things and not really getting to see as many games as somebody out in, the West Coast
Boston.
does get to see him. So, he's got 2 more years at 6.125 per season. He's in my mind is one of the most underrated centers in the league today. This past season, he scored 29 goals, 41 assists for 70 points.
Oh my gosh. Wait, could you imagine that? Just that level of production, that almost is, that's a spit better than Giroux, right?
Well, I mean,
Giroux didn't quite score that many goals.
No, he was more of an assist guy, for sure.
Right. Okay. So what would you much rather have, assist or goals?
Right. But let's go through this too. Not only did he have just this great, good season here, 70 points, previous to this year, Scheifele scored over 20 goals in each of the last 7 seasons. All right. So he's very consistent.
Mr. Consistency.
He's very consistent. 5 out of those 7 years, he scored over 25 goals.
Wow.
And 2 of those 5 years, he scored over 30. All right. He has career highs of 38 goals and 84 points, which he set back in 2019. He would be a solid option at center to solidify that question mark that the team now has with so many injuries being riddled, through there. And, I think he could definitely slot in the top 6, center positions there, the top 2 spots. Now, why would Winnipeg possibly be willing to get rid of him? Well, like I said, they got a new coach. They're going to have some player personnel moves. They obviously need to do something in order to even try to compete with Colorado.
Right. And I think the front runner for this job, I believe, is Barry Trotz.
I think that's where he may be looking to go. Yep. And with that, it's just a question mark that surrounds him because Scheifele has shown some frustrations with Winnipeg. He was their Winnipeg's first official draft pick when they moved back to Winnipeg.
Went to Winnipeg, when they came back.
Yeah, when they came back from Atlanta, he was their first draft pick as the Winnipeg Jets, and he's been there for some time. He's a little frustrated. Obviously, the Jets have been on the outside looking in for quite a few years. And I don't blame him for being frustrated. The Jets have got a goaltender now, but they really haven't gave him that help. Line A was there, but he seems kind of frustrated. The team is kind of getting like he's worn out his welcome a little bit.
A change of scenery, I believe.
He does need a change of scenery. So what is good with him is the fact that he's got 2 years left. He could come over and he could be a short-term option.
6.125 is a big ask.
It's a big ask for sure.
Big ask.
But it would be one where obviously you would have to move somebody off of the NHL roster. You're not going to just trade them for some picks or some prospects. All right. They may want that part of that in the return, but they're going to have to take back in any team they trade with. They're going to have to take back an NHL player. So it's an opportunity to get rid of somebody that's not currently working in the Flyers system or that new coach John Tortorella doesn't see fitting in his new systems he's going to be making. So it's a question mark. It's a short-term option. It's not the best or ideal pick that I would say, but it is a pick that could.
It's an option.
It's an option that could work to help the team be better next season. I'll leave it at that.
Yeah, okay. And I can understand why that idea was put in there. And I understand why you wrote about that. You know what I mean? Because we've talked about the fact that, look, this team is more than just one or two players away. Look, we're going to get into this a little later on, but one thing for sure about this team coming up with the new coach, as you've mentioned being John Tortorella, is this. We're going to find out real quick players who are going to be buying in and on the team, or if they ain't buying in, they ain't going to be on the team. Right. And there's going to be a lot of guys that are going to probably end up not being I'm going to use this analogy, and I used it one time a little while ago, and it was this. When Mike Ditka was first hired as coach of the Chicago Bears, right, in 1984, he walked into the locker room, and the first thing he said to these guys was this: we're going to go to the Super Bowl, and a lot of you guys in this room ain't going to be here. Yeah. Okay? And I'm here to tell you, guess what? In 1 year, 1985, 60% of that locker room was turned over. Yep. 60%. So I have a feeling that everybody's saying, or let me rephrase, the pundits are saying that, Philadelphia is 1 or 2 steps away. But when you peel back all the onion layers and you really boil it all down, 15, 25 layers deep, this team is seriously lacking in depth, seriously lacking in center position, and just bringing back one Couturier who might be healthy, one Hayes who might be healthy, and one defenseman, Ellis, who might be healthy. That's a lot of ifs and a lot of mights.
A lot of ifs.
And so that was exactly what I pointed out to when we did the show with Joe and Jimmy on the Sports Fanatic News the other day. And I held up a little sign and said, and wrote the word if, even though it was backwards and came across as phi. But you know what I mean? I said, that's a lot of these, a lot of ifs, right? Okay. All right. That's the short term. Now we go into a long term. Okay. Right. Sorry about the tangent there.
No, you're good. You're good.
Yeah. All right. So the long-term option for the Jay O'Brien thing is Pavel.
All right. So Pavel Zacha is with the New Jersey Devils right now. So if Scheifele turns out to be too costly or too much to obtain, just his salary is unyielding for the Flyers, whatever the case may be, a better option in my mind would be a long-term option. This team, like we said, is not just 1 or 2 players away. It's going to be taking some time to rebuild, to, like you said, move some players that don't fit Flyers hockey or don't want to buy into the system out. You need to have people that are going to buy in. And I think AV did that in a sense, started to do that, but I think Tortorella is going to take it full press, like you said, Ditka did with the Bears, or Mike Keenan did when he came to the Flyers.
I heard Billy Clement. I heard a great quote from Billy Clement saying that he reminded him a lot of Keenan, only nicer. Okay, and I went, oh, all right. So he said that and if you get the okey doke from Bill Clement, because he said the Flyers will be fine with John Tortorella, so he gave him the big okey doke. But
all right.
Yeah.
Well,
anyway,
we'll see. So
we're talking about the Pavel Zacha.
So a long-term option with the Devils would be trying to trade for Pavel Zacha. All right. He is 2015 6th overall pick. He's a center that plays wing as well. He stands at 6'3", 210 pounds, and he's 25 years old now.
Wait. Say that last sentence again, please.
So he's
Rewind
6'3",
play.
6'3", 210 pounds, and he's 25 years old. He plays center and wing. All right.
And how much contract?
Well, he's a restricted free agent. So not much right now. It's going to change, obviously. So you could get this guy, and he could be the Flyers are going to be able to match anything anybody else puts up. So he's going to be around for a while. And, the reason why they're going to be looking to get rid of this guy is the fact that they have Jack Hughes. They have Nico Hischier. They have Dawson Mercer, who established himself this year. All right. All those guys are down the middle. Now Zacha has been made expendable because, obviously he's a top 10 pick as well. And, you just can't play all these guys. What's he going to play in the fourth line center role? No,
right.
They need some other help other places. So with that, he could be moved, and he has been on the trade radar as far back as last season at the deadline, and already since immediately upon the Devils being booted out of contention like the Flyers were at the end of the season, his name was brought right back up. Now, a way that he could help the Flyers is, if everybody's healthy, then great. He can play a top 6 wing position, and he can skate, he can shoot, he can dangle with the best of them. He can take it up one end of the ice and down to the other and do it all on his own.
Can I ask you a strange question? Right? Does he have more than 8 goals in 3 years?
He definitely does.
He does.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
All right. And how much time has he missed in that time?
Not a whole lot.
Not a whole lot. Right? And
so
he's 6'3", 210. 210. Yeah. All right.
So this past season, he played in 70 games. He had 15 goals, 21 assists for 36 points. Like
Dude,
I said,
that right there.
Mm-hmm. The season before that.
Better.
The season before that, he had 17 goals, 18 assists, 35 points. He's looking to be a breakout player, but he's really not. He really needs more ice time. He really needs to be played at his strong suit, his capacity. And I think the Devils are just they've been bad for so long since their last cup in 2003 that they have an abundance of the same player. And they need goaltending.
That sounds like
right. They need goaltending. They need better defense. They have some names on defense, but they don't have a cohesive group on defense.
Yeah.
So they need to fix that problem. And the way that they could do this, I think the Flyers should really swing for the fences here. Now, Jay O'Brien would be a small piece of this puzzle in bringing these players in, but what the Flyers should really do is trade for the 2nd overall pick from the Devils. They already have the 5th pick. The Devils have let it be well known. This rarely happens. Okay, I get this. This rarely happens that a team in the top 5 picks trades away in the NHL. You see it, NFL, all that stuff, but not in the NHL. But the Devils know that they have top 10 talent. They have top 5 talent year in and year out. They have that. They need veterans leadership to bring this team together. They need goaltending. They need defense. All right, that are legitimate starters now to better this team. They have enough youth under 25 for 3 teams. All right, but they need those established players to show them the way. And the Devils have let it be known that they're willing to trade their 2nd overall pick this year for the right package. Now, the question is, what would be the right package? Well, the Flyers, in a sense.
Funny you mentioned that.
The Flyers, this is where they could really get something back. And what I would want with that 2nd overall pick is a solidified player that could play top 6 minutes next year. That's what I want. I want a sure thing. I want a sure thing. Well, he's a secondary option even with this. He would be the second overall pick. If we traded the second overall pick for the 5th pick, moving our picks, we could get, the big Slovakian, 6'4", 280-pound winger, Juraj Slafkovský. All right.
Very good. That's impressive. Because that's Slafkovský.
Slafkovský, yes.
Yes,
so
impressive.
So this guy, at the Olympics, he impressed.
Yeah,
he went
really well.
7 goals for 7 games in the Olympics. Yeah. He scored a 1.13 points per game for Slovakia in the World Cup of Hockey, which has a lot of NHL players
really
join the teams and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. So, he is ready for the NHL next season. He does not need another year of conditioning or prep up. He's ready to go. He's got an NHL frame. And he's a big body power forward that puts you on your behind to get the puck from you. Everything the Flyers need, everything the Flyers have been successful in the past. All right. He's a European-born player.
I was just going to say he's European even too.
Right. He's European. The Flyers have lacked European talent for a many of years. That when they've had a few on it, they've been successful with Kimmo Timonen, Renberg, Eklund, all that stuff have been successful in years past. So I think with, Slafkovský and Zacha coming in a big package from the Flyers would help. Now, what would the Devils want? We talked about possibly giving the 5th overall pick. Okay, that would be a definite if this trade were going to happen. All right, so they would be trading away.
But you don't want to know what I would want to throw in.
They'd still have a top 5 pick in this draft.
Yep.
All right, I would give them, me personally, I would give them the choice of Ivan Provorov. I would give them Travis Konechny, a choice of Ivan Provorov, Konechny, or James Van Riemsdyk to start with that.
I agree.
Anyone
so
they want.
We're in agreement.
Anyone they want with that. To sweeten the deal, I would also offer them Oscar Lindblom or Morgan Frost. All right.
Not quite all the way on that.
Third round player and all that. Okay, that's your thing. But to get Lindblom is a 3rd-line player at this point at best. Hopefully he comes out this season and impresses. But to be able to get a player of Slafkovsky's and Pavel Zacha coming back, I would certainly be willing to give away Lindblom if need be.
Oh, okay. Well,
players. All right.
All right. Okay. All right. So
you know
far,
what I mean?
Okay. All right. All right.
You're not gonna.
I'm drinking this water so far. Okay.
Right. So then I would give up both O'Brien and Tumala. If you look at Samu this past season, he was drafted pretty high last season, second pick.
Round.
But he has not had good numbers, this season. He took a big step backwards. But I think he still has a lot of potential, just like Jay O'Brien. And here's that thing again with sure thing. I think the Flyers need a face of the franchise. Let's face it, Claude Giroux's gone. He's not coming back. We are not going out and getting some big name free agent. We have no cap space. Nobody wants, most of our players in a trade unless you get a team like the Devils, which need a solidified, established player.
So, okay, I'm with you on that. I'm so with you on that. I really like this idea, although I would stop giving at, I'll give you the 5th overall pick. You give me the 2nd. You're giving me these 2 players. Mm-hmm. I'm giving you JVR, Provorov, or Konechny, right? Instead of some of the other names that you mentioned, I would definitely keep Frost in there, but I would put Sanheim in there.
Arguably, I don't particularly like Sanheim. He's not my favorite player. I like a more physical defenseman in my mind. And I'm a goalie, so I like a guy that's more defensively.
That was the other thing
playing
I was going to
defense.
say. That was the other thing I was going to say is we could probably throw in like a Felix Sandstrom or somebody like that we could
Well,
maybe.
they just re-signed him, so the Flyers just re-signed Sandstrom, so he could be moved, but I doubt they will since they just re-signed him. I don't know. There's a lot of different players you could play in there, but I think they're going to need a legitimate player like Provorov, Konechny, or Van Riemsdyk going back. I think they're going to need another NHL player, maybe not first two lines, maybe somebody from the third line.
Like a la Frost, a la Lindblom, a la.
Yeah, like that.
Sanheim, a la O'Brien,
Right.
a la. See, now
Right.
that's where I would go with that, right? That's where I would throw the O'Brien in with that, right? I would
not get rid of Scotty Lawton. I like Scotty Lawton. I think
no. I said O'Brien. No.
Yeah, I get that. I get that. I'm just naming other names that I wouldn't get rid of.
I would throw him in with that group and say, you can have TK or Provorov or JVR, and you can have O'Brien and Frost, right? That I would be please take that. Hello, are you listening? Hello.
I'm sure they would have a counter offer and there'd be some discussions, but that's just what I would offer up first. You know what I mean? They may not like one of those.
They're still getting a 5th overall pick, which still leaves them 1 pick in the first round.
Yep.
Right. That gives the Flyers an opportunity to get a draft pick that could potentially make the team that particular year or this particular year. It gives us a player that we can have that can score, that's going to be a center, that can cover that kind of thing and not necessarily be the face of the franchise, but replace some of that production that went away when Giroux left. If you and I both agree that this team is not going to be good by just adding 1 or 2 players because there's too many holes, there's too many gaps, there's too many question marks, there's too many ifs. Okay, and I'm with you. I want definitelys, right? I don't want ifs. I want definitelys. Okay, so I mean,
yep. And this would be Slafkovsky would be a home run in my mind. He's going to be one of the better players from this draft. He's going to be one of the better players from this draft day 1 after he is drafted. And that's a definitely, and that's giving this team and its fans something to look forward to next season.
Yeah.
All right. There wasn't a whole lot to look forward to this year. And that showed by the attendance that the fans, didn't, when I went to some of the games with my family, they were moving people from the upper levels, bringing them down because they couldn't even fill up the bottom ring. So
right. And see, now when we went, we were able to get seats so close to the ice because they were so cheap. Right. It was like, wow, we're sitting 3 rows. From the ice.
Yeah.
And it wasn't that expensive, you know what I mean? So I'm here to tell you that's no way to go. Now listen, we got a second article here, and I want to cover this second article.
Sure.
Because we're in this kind of mode where we're talking about, all these things and pieces and drafts and everything like this. And before I really want to get into the main question that I want to ask you, which is your thoughts on the new coach of John Tortorella being added to the Philadelphia Flyers. Everybody on the planet has had their say, and I want to be able to give you your opportunity to stand on your box. But so Article 2 you would have thought that the writer extraordinaire was on vacation or something, and he up and releases yet another fine piece of reading just this morning, as he just posted earlier on the Flyers Nitty Gritty website. FlyersNittyGritty.com is where you can go to find all of Lance's articles, for sure. So, an overlooked guardian of the blue paint. The Flyers should look to select in this year's draft. And man, I'll tell you what, I understand why you wrote this. I do. But some of me is like questioning why we would go this route again. Okay. And this is why I love reading your articles, because it always gets you thinking. Mm-hmm. And always gets you looking at something that, wow, this is a good idea. This could really be a good thing. Or, I don't know if I agree with all this. Or some of it's good, some of it's not. You know what I mean? So this was one of those articles that just makes you think a little bit.
Well, that's what I love to do. I love to make you guys think and use your minds and,
Yeah.
And really dive into some of the other aspects or something that you may not see just looking at the cover. You got to dive in a little bit to see.
Open the hood,
right. and kick the tires.
The tires and drive it around a little bit. Look, the Flyers finally got Ivan over here. Mm-hmm. Okay. But they need more help, right?
Well, essentially, yes. Ivan was a 2015 7th round pick. That turned out he's played the past 6 years in the KHL and it's done really well. In the Olympics this year, he was absolutely fantastic. In 6 games, he averaged a 1.61 goals against average. He paired it with a .943 save percentage, and he had a record of 4-2-0 with 2 shutouts in the Olympics. All right,
and a silver medal. Thank you very kindly.
Which he led his team to a silver medal. But even upon that, this season, he returned to Russia, even with the war starting up and everything with Ukraine and all that other stuff. He came back for CSKA and he won the league championship. He carried them and won the championship. So he really has nothing else to prove in, Russia. He signed a 1-year deal this offseason to come over and play for the Flyers. As we said in past shows when we talked about him, I think the Flyers have been blocking him from being able to come over. They wanted to keep signing these guys, Martin Jones being the most recent one, guys that have been in the league, Brian Elliott, all this stuff, been in the league for a while, veteran players, that's all well and great, but they've had this kid for a while, and now he's definitely ready. He's 6'8", 203 pounds. He's an amazing talent. I think you guys will really, really like to watch this kid play, and hopefully he grasps the North American game very quickly, as he, kind of did playing against some of the North American talent at the Olympics. And I really think this kid's going to be good. I think he's going to be potentially the Flyers' backup even. I don't think he's going to spend time with the Phantoms. I think that's going to be relegated to Sandstrom again.
Makes sense.
And
Ustimenko or somebody,
even him. Ustimenko spent most of the year with the ECHL Reading Royals again this season. So he really made a name for himself in his first season turning pro, but ever since he hasn't really progressed. And this is why the Flyers need to find the next person in line here. They've spent a lot of assets on goaltending, but they really haven't struck it rich. Even and in my mind, as much people don't want to hear this, Carter Hart being a 2nd round pick, I don't think he's as solidified as his job is solidified as so many people may think. He's had a couple of rough seasons.
So young, man.
He's very young.
Come on.
Yeah, very young. Very young. He's going to take time, but they finally have a goaltender in Ivan to come over and help him. All right. He doesn't have to be the guy, so young. He has another potential guy who has 6 years in the professional leagues. To
Somebody
be
to
able to
push
come in
him a
and play,
little bit.
to push him. And because let's face it, was Carter Hart really threatened by Brian Elliott? No. Was he really threatened by Martin Jones? No. Now he has somebody his own age that is going to push him.
And I would say, I've watched a lot of Ivan's games. I watched almost every one of the games that he did during the Olympics, specifically so I could scout him. Mm-hmm. And I'm going to tell you something, man. He seems like he has a better style, but he's also a lot bigger in the net too.
Sure he is.
Okay, you know what I mean? So when he goes down to the butterfly, he's still
he's still above the crossbar.
You're still 6'8". I mean, you get down to your knees and, there's still 5 feet of you. You know what I mean? So.
But with that being said, now that he's over here, now that he's signed, they need to find a replacement to refill his spot in the prospect pool to continue to develop. All right. You can't just say, hey, we got this guy. We're good. Okay, well, who's going to be the next guy? What if he goes out and blows his knee out in the first game?
Who's playing for the Phantoms and who's playing for the Royals and who's playing?
You always got to find somebody else. And the Flyers have tried to do that in years past, but have been kind of unsuccessful since drafting Fedorov. So you look at Kozelev. He was drafted third round pick, I think. He really had struggled this year in the KHL. He gave up almost 4 goals. He gave over 4 goals a game up in the playoffs this year. You have Urison.
That is not getting it done.
That's not getting it done, right? You have Samuel Urison, who the Flyers drafted with a 5th round pick in 2018. He came over this year, played for the Phantoms in 5 games, let up nearly 3 goals a game, didn't record a single win. All right. You have, we talked about Ustimenko. He has had a hip injury. He's been stuck playing most of his time in the ECHL because he hasn't been able to crack the Phantoms roster for any extended length of time. Now you have Felix Sandstrom, who was also drafted back in 2015 with a 3rd round pick. Very, very high pick for a goaltender as well. He played a lot of games for the Phantoms this year. I think over 45. Yep. He had a record of 16 wins, 18 losses, and 6 overtime losses. So he was not over 500. He was not over 500 goals.
Wow.
All right. So, and even when he came up for the Flyers, he had a 3.23 goals against average. Granted, the Flyers were horrible, but so were the Phantoms. And he, too, did not win a single game playing for the Flyers. He had 4 losses and 1 tie, or, overtime loss. So, not too good on the goaltending front. So here's where the Flyers should once again draft a goaltender. Yes, all right. But here's the catch.
See, now that's why I was like, are you really writing about another goaltender? Like, really? Yeah. And then I read it and I was like, all right.
They haven't got it right yet, right?
Right.
And I don't think that the Flyers need to go out and spend another 2nd round pick. They don't need to go out and spend another 3rd round pick. They don't need to go out and spend another 4th round pick in order to get a quality goaltender this year. And here's why. This season, it's all a bunch of sieves. The goaltending is horrible. Last season, the Flyers, if they didn't trade their 1st round pick, they could have had Sebastian Cossa with their 1st round pick, who is an elite level talent.
I was going to say, yeah.
All right.
Boy, I'll tell you
Detroit got him, right? Detroit got him with the 15th overall pick when the Flyers would have had the 14th overall pick. That he is a sure thing. All right. But there's no Sebastian Cossa out this seaon. All right.
No.
Tyler Brennan is potentially the best rated goaltending prospect this year in most every single mock draft. All right. But he has as many good things as he does some absolutely horrible habits that me being a goaltending coach and everything like that, I would not draft this guy. And some people have him as early as second or third round, but this is like across the board, most every single goaltender. All right. In this year's draft that's coming up for the first time. Brennan has a 3.58 goals against average this year and less than a 900 save percentage. He won 11 games and 25 losses. All right. This is like every single goaltender coming out this year. They're all sieves. Like they all have problems. They all are not complete goaltenders, all except for one guy that I really like. And the problem, the thing with it is the Flyers could potentially draft this player in Marco Constantini in the 6th or 7th round in my mind. And here's why. All right. Constantini played for the Hamilton Bulldogs of the OHL. He's played with them the past 3 seasons, or he's been on the roster at least. But last season, in his draft eligible year, seeing that he's 19 years old now, the OHL didn't play a single game.
No, they did not.
Right. So in his draft year, he was given no opportunity. He did not play a single game. Therefore, he was overlooked and he wasn't
there was
drafted.
no tape.
Because a lot of people overseas still played in Russia, in Belarus, and all this other places all around. They still played, but the OHL was shut down due to COVID. So Marco was left to do nothing but sit there and work and hone his game, right? And that time off. Well, he came out this season and he was absolutely phenomenal. Like I said, he is 19 years old, so most people write him off because of just his age. But through 45 regular seasons game this year, he had a 2.32 goals against average with a 917 save percentage. He won 31 goals this year for the Bulldogs.
31
All right.
Games.
Yep. 31 games this year. And he had 6 shutouts on the season as well. He had countless save of the night, accolades, goaltender of the week awards.
Yeah, like I'm like, wow, another one. I'm like, are you sure
goaltender of
it's
the
the same?
month
Nope, it's a different date.
awards. This guy was lights out for the Bulldogs this year, and they had a good team, but a lot of that was because he was backstopping them. All right. He's 6'1", 185 pounds. He's a butterfly goaltender who covers the bottom of the net very, very well. He moves very smoothly across the goal mouth to get into position to make the stop. He keeps his hands up very, very well to make up for the fact that he's only 6'1". All right.
Yeah,
so
he has technique.
He has great technique. The only notch on this guy that I see as a goaltender coach that I want to fix is the fact that he doesn't swallow the puck. And what I mean by that is he doesn't accept the puck and he doesn't cradle it to stop the play. He gives up a lot of rebounds. But in the OHL, he's been able to make that second, third stop to prevent that goal. But I fear at the next level that he's going to need to be able to make that stop right away. One save and stoppage of play to be able to be,
very. But you know what though, Lance? That comes, I think, with a little bit of experience, and that also comes, I think, with some maturity and some age. Do you know what I mean? To where you learn that, hey, wait a minute. If I change my game a little bit slightly, and I change my body slightly, and I change how I accept the hit of the puck, I can change the trajectory of the rebound to where it stops more deadly into my body or whatever, and I'm not giving up these big juicy rebounds.
And a good goaltending coach will be able to see that, point it out to him on tape, and give him that little tweak in his game that's going to be able to make that happen. And I think that's easily done. And drafting a guy at this, being able to draft a player possibly in the 5th, 6th, 7th round, like Marco is going to be available at because of his age.
Yeah.
I'll gladly be able to work on that one thing rather than the 3 or 4 different things that some of the other guys in this draft that are 18 years old are going to have to work on because they're years away from turning pro. And I think Marco's possibly only a year away, in my mind. So, but with that, to go on his strong play, he just finished up winning a Ross Robertson Cup trophy, which is the OHL's league championship, where he posted an incredible 0.842 win percentage. That means he's won almost 85% of the playoff games he played in. He had yep. And so, he had a phenomenal playoffs for them. And I really, really like this kid. I really think that he would be available later in the draft. And I think the Flyers should select him because I think he's going to be a professional. And I think he's going to be a professional fairly soon. Is he going to be immediately going to the NHL? Probably not. No, but I think he could be an excellent Phantoms goaltender in another year's time.
I made the comment when I was on with Jim Jackson and Professor Joe the other day about this year's draft not being real strong in the once-in-a-lifetime player or the player that's going to be that, Connor McDavid type. Right? I don't think this draft has those types of players. But what I think this draft does have is a lot of high-quality starting NHL players all the way through the draft. Like, I don't see any rounds where there's at least a couple of good, decent players on both sides of the ice that are going to be NHL starters, right? So that's why I think that I really like the idea of the trading back and all the other stuff and things.
Yeah, we talked about that before.
Yeah, and I really like this goaltender as well. So of course that means that the Flyers will be looking elsewhere because we both like this guy. So of course this is going to happen, right?
Well, I did point out another goaltender some years back to be the Flyers should draft in the 7th round of my mock draft, and that was Devin Levi, who has went on to Northeastern and had an incredible season this year. He was drafted by the Florida Panthers, which then traded him to Buffalo.
Yep.
And he went on to win a World Junior Championship as well. So there is talent in the later rounds, especially with goaltending. And I believe Marco could be that next guy.
I'm with you, man. I'm for you. Like I said, this is one of those articles where you have to, once you read it, you think about it and go, yeah, okay, all right, I get it, I see it. All right, my man. First of all, big props and thank yous to FlyersNittyGritty.com for posting these great articles of Lance's. So, all right, my man. A little while ago, the Philadelphia Flyers hired a coach. Finally. I mean, we talked about how many shows did we do where we couldn't believe that it was like, okay, it's a month away from the draft. It's 3 weeks away from the draft. It's 2 weeks away from the draft. They still don't have a coach. All right, well, we're 2 weeks away from the draft, and they now finally have a coach.
Mm-hmm.
Right? That coach is the 23rd coach of the Philadelphia Flyers is none other than John Tortorella. Now, I have said on many shows what my opinions are of this particular person, as far as I believe his ego and other things. But I'm also going to say this, and I'm going to go on record, and then I'm going to ask our esteemed guardian of the blue paint here, because I can't wait to hear this opinion. I think I don't have a problem with him as a coach per se. I just don't think he's the right coach for the Philadelphia Flyers. I don't think this is the right time for him to be here because I think the Flyers are more than one step away. Of the two choices that we had, Barry Trotz and or slash Tortorella, all right, I guess Tortorella would have been the better choice, but here we are, and this is what's going on. So, Lance Green, you have now had an opportunity to witness John Tortorella being hired as the 23rd coach of the Philadelphia Flyers. Your thoughts, sir? You have the floor.
So let's take it. I agree with you in a sense too, but we'll divulge this. So essentially, it's been rumored that that John Tortorella wasn't their Flyers' first choice. Let's get that out there, right?
The elephant in the room.
That Barry Trotz was rumored to be offered roughly in the market of $7 million to be the Flyers head coach. All right. That would have made him the highest paid coach in the NHL by a large margin. But he supposedly turned it down or wasn't looking to sign at that time, whatever the case may be. So they went another route and they decided to sign John Tortorella, paying him $4 million roughly. So let's go through this with John Tortorella being the Flyers' new head coach. Do I think it's the right time for him? Probably not. The Flyers are going to need to rebuild for an extended period of time. He's more of a guy that, is a winning coach that you want to bring in when you're close, in my mind. But we're stuck with him now, so let's go with it. What are some good things that John Tortorella is going to do?
Right. So,
all right, let's talk about that. All right, John Tortorella is, like I said earlier, going to make players held accountable. And AV tried to do this, but I think he failed in some aspects of it, or they weren't really fearful of him.
I was just going to say there wasn't a lot of follow through.
Right. So maybe he set him out of game or anything like that. John Tortorella is on a whole nother level with that. He's going to get in your face. He's a coach like I love to play for. He's going to get in your face. He's going to be a good coach when he needs to show you stuff, possibly one of the best in the league. All right, because he is very knowledgeable. But when you're not listening to him or you're not going out and playing his style of play that he wants you to play or that role that he wants you to fill, he's going to let you know. He's going to get in your face. He's going to cuss you out. He's going to see to it that you either fall in line or get out. Okay. A lot of players in the past that teams, these coaches come out and said, prayers for the Flyers players right now. Okay. That's all well and good. But John Tortorella, you didn't decide you wanted to leave that team for those type players. John Tortorella, like Dicka, pushed you the heck out because he didn't want you on his team. All right. He saw something in you. That drive wasn't there. That ability to buy into the system wasn't there. So he pushed and pushed and pushed until you decided to leave. You decided to ask for a trade, or management listened to Tortorella enough to get him off of the team. All right. You're not deciding anything. John Tortorella's already decided it for you that you're leaving. All right. So that is some good things that I think will be punched. The team, as Tortorella said, needs a change of culture. All right. They need to become tougher to play against. They become where they were once one of the toughest, if not the toughest team to play against in years past. They have now become one of the easiest to play against. Okay. They get pushed around. They do not stand up for each other. They are not hungry in puck battles. A whole lot of problems that I believe John Tortorella can fix. But most people today will not be okay with his ways of going about making that happen. All right. It is a kinder, gentler time. All right. The Flyers had a similar coach in Mike Keenan in the past that was very successful for the Flyers. All right. This is in a sense is a throwback to Keenan. But I think that Tortorella is a better coach in the sense of teaching some younger players. All right. If you listen to him and you buy in, I think he can do that. but a lot of people today and a lot of players today have been coddled, and I don't know how well it's going to work out in the long run. So if the team buys in, if the management buys in and listens to him and goes out and does for him as they did for AV and go out and get his type of players to fit his system and all that, it could definitely work. All right. But I don't see it working for a number of years. All right. In a sense, to be actually competitive again, he's not going to come in and he's not going to reinvent the wheel and suddenly the team is back into the Eastern Conference Finals. All right.
Yeah.
Do I think he's going to have them be a winning organization again and have a winning record? Yes, I think he could, but barely over 500 next year at the best.
Okay. So
it's going to take some time.
See, that's my whole key to why I feel the way I do, because I believe we're more than one or two pieces away from being where the Flyers want to be. And that's why I have a hard time with this hire, because to me, it signals that the Flyers don't think that they're that far away.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what I mean? And that's what worries me, because I
don't think they're living in reality now.
Right.
Or management isn't, at least. Yeah.
Or I don't know what they're living in or something. Right. And I'm sorry, but, Couturier, if he comes back, and Ellis, and Hayes, that's too many ifs. You know what I mean? And you're hanging a lot of eggs onto one lone basket, thinking that this one thing is going to be the fix. And I'm here to tell you, you cannot destroy something by removing just one thing. You have to destroy something by removing a lot of things. And sometimes it takes a while. Rome was not built in a day, and you cannot destroy it in a day. I mean, unless you drop a nuclear bomb on it. But Tortorella is not. Then again, maybe he might be a nuclear bomb on the players, because I am going to tell you something, though. Okay, we're going to find out here real soon who's going to be buying in and who ain't.
Who's going to be shipping out? Yeah.
And if you ain't buying in, you ain't going to be on the team long. And I'm going to be real interested to see who some of those players are. Morgan Frost. Travis Konechny.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It's time to put up. Or shut up. Man. Yeah. Or ship out. You're
Tortorella is going to be, of all the things that I think the Flyers did right of hiring him, was that he's going to bring that accountability. Mm-hmm. He's going to, more so than I think what AV did. Mm-hmm. So you're okay with this? I mean, it doesn't matter if we're okay with it or not. This is what we got.
This is what we got. And, I see the thought process behind it. Let's say that. I see the thought process behind it. I see the reason for it, because it's needed. It is needed. I think we have a lot of melancholy players that have with Giroux being one of them, and Voracek being one of them, and that token. Those guys are gone. But a lot of these guys just were okay with mediocrity, and John Tortorella is not going to be okay with that. And Travis Konechny is in that same boat. Like, okay, you're signed to a deal and you're making millions of dollars to play a sport. You're in a position that every single one of us watching this podcast or listening to this podcast want or wish to be in when we were kids, and whatnot. So don't take that for advantage of that, for granted, and don't take that for granted, and really go out there and give it your all. And Tortorella is going to make them do that. And I see good things happening, but I don't think it's going to be a long-term option. I think it's going to be something to rid some players out of the organization or push them out if they don't want to be here. Leave and really bring in the right Flyers type players is what's going to need to be done. So, it has the possibilities of working greatly, and it has the same possibilities to fall on its face as it has in some instances. Tortorella is hard. He's a hard coach, and he's gonna make you play, and he wears that as welcome. But at the same token, he's been successful where he's been because he pushes the players so hard to be all that they can be. So
Yeah.
I'm interested. Let's say that I'm interested to see how this is going to go. I think it's needed in this organization. But at the same token, I think a same style GM needs to be in there instead of the one we have. So I don't know.
So this is his last hire, so you might as well swing for the fences and bring in whoever you can bring in who you think is going to help right this ship as soon as you possibly can right it. Because let's face it, if by when frost starts nipping at your nose, things happen in Philadelphia. When December time rolls around, and I'm here to tell you, it might not be the coach, but very well maybe others going. You know
Aspects,
what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we gotta keep this in mind too. So many people are so quick to say, "Oh, well, the Flyers should go get this person or sign this free agent." Just because you throw money at somebody, Barry Trotz being, rumored, the same thing. Just because you throw a lot of money at somebody doesn't mean they're gonna come here.
And quite frankly, there's really no incentive to come and want to play here in Philadelphia. I mean, there's
no
not really
superstars to play with. There's no, the market's there. It's a big franchise. It's a well-known franchise. But let's face it, it's not LA. It's not the beaches of Tampa Bay.
okay, but it's a tough hockey market though.
Sure, it's a tough hockey market, and some people don't want to play in that. They don't want to play in New York Rangers spotlight. They don't want to play in Toronto Maple Leaf spotlight, or the Flyers spotlight, because fans are knowledgeable. They're hungry for a championship, and some players can't just hack that. In Toronto media, they have 120 people sitting in there firing questions off of you because that is life there. You know what I mean? And across the board, Philly media is harsh on players that aren't excelling and aren't putting out that 110%, level of play, because they are so passionate about their sport. So there's a lot of aspects, that come into both players and coaches and agreeing to come here. Just because you want and you think that, they should sign this player, there's 30 some odd other teams in the league that they have an opportunity to go play for, or they have an opportunity to go coach. And, the one the Flyers wanted didn't want to come here. No matter what you pay them. So
Tortorella should have been hired back when AV was hired.
I think so.
Right, but unfortunately, Tortorella was still coaching the Columbus. Right, so if he would have been hired instead of AV, then I think this would be a whole completely different situation.
Right.
Right. Look, hindsight is always 20/20, and blah blah blah. Here's the thing, though. Okay. I'm a little bit concerned when somebody is overly willing to come to a place that is this challenging and they want to come here. I mean, I'm I'm all for being a go-getter, and I'm all for being somebody who wants to try to achieve and all that other stuff. But I'm also thinking that, your ego's thinking, yeah, I can do this. Do you know
Well,
what I
I
mean?
think Tortorella likes a challenge, and at this point in his career, he's got 2 Jack Adams awards. He's got a Stanley Cup, so he's won all that a coach can win, and he's out to prove one more time. He says this is going to be his last team, however long it lasts, and he's going to hang up the whistle. So he's going to give it his best shot, and like we talked before the show. I'm sure he learned a few things from his, time spent, with different teams and the mistakes that he possibly, thought he made there, and
He
which
said it in his
caused him to get
interview.
up. Yeah,
He said it in his interview. I listened to the
the
great
presser.
Jason
Yeah,
Myrtetus
yeah,
interview. No, I listened to the Jason
yeah.
Myrtetus one. He had 22 or 21 minutes on the Flyers Daily, and it's one of the only other Flyers things that I every once in a while I'll listen to, other than B PuckCast. But he had the interview with Tortorella, and he came right out and said, look, I made mistakes. I probably shouldn't have said things to players at the times that I did, and I should have probably have had a little bit more tact when it comes to certain things. And he said, and I've learned from those mistakes. So I mean, all right, so it sounds like he's matured, but he's still walking like, yeah, I'm coaching the Flyers. I can do this. I can bring these guys.
Well, I think a sense of confidence is good, and it shows that he wants to win. You know what I mean? He was so
Yeah,
passionate about winning, and he saw some of the players that he had on some of those teams that were complaining about him. He saw talent in them. All right, but like Patrick Laine, like Pierre-Luc Dubois, like they're still not living up to their true talent,
yeah,
and that's because they just don't care enough. In my mind, they're not going out every night and playing like Ovechkin plays with that kind of talent. I think Patrick Laine could be possibly one of the best goal scorers in the league today, and on any given night he shows that he could be, but then like JVR, he
yeah.
takes multiple nights off where he's non-existent. So you know I believe Tortorella saw that in these players and was pushing that to get it out of them, and maybe a little too hard. And like he said, he learned from that. But what he's brought to this team is passion that the team lacks, and a drive to want to win, a will to win, which the team looks like they've last for the last couple of seasons. So I'm interested to see how this is going to go for sure, and we're just going to have to wait and find out how it
Yeah.
turns out for sure.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, for sure. So, look, I know you've been, since you've had a little vacation time now, and I know you've been busy with these last 2 articles, but we got something real exciting coming up here in a couple of weeks' time here, don't we?
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm sure you got some stuff on the tablet, jotted down in notes.
Yeah. Yep, for sure. So I am going to start to piece together my yearly mock draft.
That should be a special show. I think we should do that next week. Can we do that?
I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. I do like to write some lengthy articles, as you guys have read, but I'm going to try to start to piece it together. I don't know if I'll get a complete 7-round mock draft done in the next week, But
Well, maybe we could break it up into 2 shows
right,
and
right.
do like the
We'll
first
see.
couple, whatever. Yeah,
We'll
okay.
see. We'll see how it goes, because a lot of the guys I'm going to highlight or make a suggestion on the Flyers drafting are people that I've talked about all season long, just like,
Yeah.
just like tonight, where I've, highlighted another great, prospect. So it shouldn't be so hard to nail down the mock draft. So we'll see how far I get this week.
Awesome, man. Awesome. Why don't you tell the folks where we can find all your great articles and where we can follow you and how we can get a hold of you?
So, as always, you can find my articles on flyersnittygritty.com. They are highlighted on Bleacher Report, Flyers page. You can find my stuff on Twitter at LNGBASSIST. The number's 39. I always post my articles as well in all the Flyers chat groups on Facebook. And, pretty much anywhere you can find Flyers hockey. SteelFlyers.com is a good website where you can find my stuff
wink,
as well.
Wink, you?
Yeah, so.
For sure, man. Well, thank you all very much for checking us out. I'm Steel Flyers, and you can find me on Twitter at SteelFlyers52. And you can find all the great work done by all the folks here at SteelFlyers All Sports Network, from the great Lance Green and the Hockey Writers Inc. to Peyton on the radio, to the great Perla Wisdom and the great Professor Joe with the Sports Fanatic News, and then also the JB and Steel Show, and then of course the Steel Flyers podcast. So check us all out on SteelFlyers.com. You can also, hey, check this out, folks. Thanks to Spreaker, you can go to all of your podcasting platforms, from Apple to Spotify to Google to Amazon to iHeartRadio, you name it, and type in Hockey Writers Inc., and our show will come up, and you hit the subscribe or the 5 stars and the like, and subscribe to that and follow us, and that helps us out. So thank you all very much to Spreaker for all your great help for that. Lance, thanks for another great show, man. This was we've done a hockey season full of shows. How about that?
All right.
Right? You ready for the next one?
Not yet. I gotta get to writing.
Oh, come on. All righty. Well, this has been another great episode of the Hockey Writers Inc., and we will catch you all on the next show. Thanks, everyone.